president also with us. We have senior members and we have a prolific speaker today in Mukesh Patel. He's not only an advocate, a renowned advocate all over India, but I think outside India also. And also, one thing more important, he doesn't speak only on direct tax, he speaks on many allied laws, international tax and many other laws, which I may not be even aware of. His speech would show his in-depth knowledge and expertise on the subject. And without wasting time, may I ask the, I think Bhaskar Patel, who is going to speak next, to introduce the speaker.
No.
No, introduce, you have to welcome.
Okay, welcome. Chalo. Bhaskar bhai, over to you.
Now, Mr. Samir Jani will introduce the speaker as per the agenda given. Please.
Well, friends, we have with us Mr. Mukesh Patel. You see, none of us who are now the participants are unaware about him, but since that is a formality, I will have to observe. I don't go by the technical introduction. I know him, a friend, philosopher and guide, and I would like to introduce him as friend, philosopher and guide. Mukesh Patel, son of late MP Patel, who was the retired commissioner of income tax when the state had only one commissioner, not even the chief commissioners, only one commissioner. Mukesh Bhai is an eminent tax expert, specialized in tax planning. He is an TV analyst, a columnist with Times of India and Sandesh. Then Mukesh Bhai was the president, he is the past president of IT Bar Association, Ahmedabad, All Gujarat Federation of Tax Consultants. He was the past president of Ahmedabad Management Association. He is a Red Cross president. He is also a president of Indo-Japanese Friendship. Mukesh Bhai is the ultimate part of his introduction is he is the member of the task force which was assigned the work of tax reforms in direct taxing with all gems of India. Mukesh Bhai has a hobby of photography and he inspires everyone. Friends who can see my virtual screen would be able to see that it's a photograph from his inspirational photography with a gem which says that speak in such a way that others love to listen you. Speak in such a way that others love to listen you. Listen in such a way that others love to speak to you. When you talk, you only repeat what you know. Now, let us know as to what he has to say about new insights into the personal tax and investment planning. Mukesh Bhai, now the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Samir Bhai. And are there any instructions?
Yes, sir. Thank you very much, sir. You are requested to share your screen, sir. You are requested to share your screen. Meanwhile, I would like to draw your attention to members. We are 530 members are there. Mukesh sir, just share your screen, sir.
Yeah.
And on behalf of All India Federation of Tax Practitioners, we are thankful to National President Nikita Madam, Secretary General Samir Jani, and Western Zone Chairman Mr. Bhaskar Bhai. Thank you very much. And now over to Mukesh sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And I'm truly delighted that the AIFTP webinar has begun in a grand manner. Samir Bhai, you said the number has crossed 500.
514 and 515.
Great. And we must thank you, Nikita Ben, that you made it open for unlimited participants and it was not restricted to 500. That's, I would just take 2 minutes to have a couple of pleasantries and then straight on dive into this big ocean of gems that we can possibly pick this morning on this wonderful subject of new insights into personal tax and investment planning. Friends, as they say, that every challenge or adversity carries the seed of an opportunity that can be transformed into prosperity. And who knew just a couple of weeks ago that AIFTP is going to have this occasion when you will be able to have, I'm told by the president, as many as 36 webinars in a record time. And I'm very happy to be part of that. Well, kindly look on the screen. This is a lovely quote by Oliver Wendell Holmes, who says, "A moment's insight is sometimes worth a life's experience." And so is it when we talk about this subject of personal tax and investment planning. Tax is so dynamic a subject. Every year, you have a Finance Act. In fact, if you think of it, in the last about 14 months, you have had 3 Finance Acts, and you have also had 2 ordinances, which you can call as taxation laws amendment ordinances, and plus, of course, a Vivad Se Vishwas. So it has been like a sixer in this last about a year or so. And therefore, we need to update ourselves on some of the very significant happenings during this past 1 year. And I would like to start with the first thing that happened in February of 2019, when the finance it was an interim budget. That was when the Finance Act, the first Finance Act, was presented by Mr. Piyush Goyal. And at that time, the rebate, I've just tried to make it a little lyrical. I say rebate on your tax plate. We need a close reading of section 87A from the current assessment year 2021. Because, rebate can be a very potential tool, particularly for the small and middle class taxpayers. This is going to be something amazing, and therefore I want you to have some insights into that. Now, before I go into the depth of the subject, let's take a look at the basics. Who is entitled to rebate? An individual. Keep in mind, friends, that an HUF cannot avail rebate. So if you are working on planning rebate, it would be the best thing to have the maximum number of individuals in your family to ensure that you get the benefit of rebate. For HUFs, we'll have other ideas. Secondly, to be able to eligible for rebate, you need to be resident. Remember, there is no rebate for non-residents. So if you are an NRI, then you do not get the benefit of rebate. That's the second rule that you have to also keep in mind. Your taxable income should not exceed rupees 5 lakhs. That is another very important rule. And this 5 lakhs becomes like your Lakshman Rekha. And we'll take a look at situations, what happens when you cross your Lakshman Rekha. So with these 3 important rules on being entitled to rebate, now let's go to how much rebate. Friends, the rebate is 100% of income tax payable or rupees 12,500, whichever is less. The next important rule, in fact, this is something which you would only be able to catch if you read it in between the lines. I've called this slide as checkmate on capital gains rebate. There are three important sections relating to capital gains. One is 111A, which is for short-term capital gains, which you get from securities on which you have paid STT. You have the latest section, which is for long-term capital gains, again, on securities where STT is paid. And you have the section 112, which is the residual taxing section in respect of all other long-term capital gains where STT is not paid, or capital gains, etc., which you earn from property and other assets. Now, historically, 111A and 112, these were old sections. At that time, when these sections came in, there were two provisions. One is that if you are taking the benefit of the 10% originally and then 15% of 111A or 20% of 112, in both the situations, you would not get any benefit of Chapter 6A. And it was also provided that you would not get benefit of the then prevailing rebate under Section 88. Kindly keep this in mind. You then had Section 112A, which came in 2018. Now, in 2018, when 112A was brought in, they provided that you would not get the benefit of deduction under Chapter 6A, and they made a reference to Section 87A. So under 112A, you have a reference of 87A, but under the two old sections, 111A and 112, there is no reference to Section 87A. And therefore, now kindly appreciate what I have put on the slide. When you have a rebate eligible from tax on STCG of shares, say your income is 4 lakhs, which is entirely short-term capital gains, and the tax at 15% would be 22,500. The tax payable after rebate would be 10,000 only, because you would be eligible to 12,500. The restriction is under the old Section 88. There is no Section 88 prevalent now. 87A has lost sight of the CBDT, TPL, whatever you may call, and therefore you will continue to get this benefit at least for 2021 and even 21-22. That should not be a problem. Friends, on the other hand, if you had long-term capital gain from shares, your total income, say, is 4 lakhs, your tax at 10% is 15,000, and the tax payable will remain at 15,000, because there 87A has been provided that you will not get any rebate. Let us take the next situation, how to celebrate with rebate. And this is, friends, almost all middle-class taxpayer families should aim at, because you can enjoy zero tax income even up to rupees 10 lakhs. The simple thing is, you have your standard deduction, say 50,000, 80C, 1,50,000. If you are investing in 80CCD, 50,000, you are taking a housing loan interest of about, say, 2 lakhs. You have an LTCG on shares. Please keep in mind, this is a very useful deduction. You were not used to it earlier. But 1 lakh per year, you get the benefit of LTCG on shares under 112A. Medical for your own family is 25,000. And if you are taking care of your seniors, either by payment of premium or by way of looking after their medical expenditure, you would get another 50,000. So that would be 75,000. And bank interest, depending on your status under TTA or TTB, would be 10 or 50,000. Now, this can easily make more than 5 lakhs. You can even go, in fact, much beyond. So what happens is that you will virtually not pay any tax even if you have income of gross income of around 10 lakhs. So 10 lakhs, you take a deduction of 5 lakhs plus at least about another 2. So because 2 lakhs is an average deduction everybody takes. So up to 7, you can even raise it up to 8, 9, 10, depending on the facts of your case. But keep in mind that this 5 lakhs limit is for the total income. So your gross total income can be much higher. As I explained, it could be even up to 10 lakhs. And by after taking the deductions under Chapter 6A or under Section 24 or under 112A, your Section 16, all these deductions, pooled together can really go to help. But on the other hand, you also need to keep in mind that if you cross the Lakshman Rekha, friends, the absence of marginal relief can prove extremely harsh. This is going to be the first year when you'll have this 12,500 of rebate and you have a window open for you. Because if you are making calculations now and you come across a calculation like this, it is time, if the window is open, try to do something by 30th of June. Because under the ordinance, you have been given the extended benefit of making certain investments, allocations, etc. Now take for example here the taxable income after your deductions that you have claimed works out to 5 lakhs and 3,000. Friends, the income tax thereon will be 13,624. Can you imagine? Why? Because 12,500 on up to 5 lakhs. And then on the remaining 3,000, you will have the additional tax and that brings it to 13,624. So just imagine a narrow miss of claiming deduction of just 3,000 can end up in a harsh tax liability of 13,624. So check up. If it's a borderline case, at least you could even end up giving a small donation, for a worthy cause. And say if you give a donation of 3,000 plus, you can save income tax of over 13,000. This is one of the insights which I think every one of us needs to carry home today. After rebate, I've talked about rebate, and as I said, rebate can go a long way for the middle class taxpayers. But then we also need to look at the Finance Act 2020, and which has brought in the old versus new. And I have therefore said, poetically, old versus new, finding the clue. The next few slides, friends, talk about the income tax rates that you will be having for the assessment year 2021-22. Because you'll have two baskets. You'll have to make a choice. Now, how to make a choice? That is going to be the key thing. And therefore, you'll have to start gearing up all your mental thinking on that subject. Now, I have tried to put the two scenarios. One is if you continue with the old. The second is if you opt for the new. Now, if you continue with the old, what will be your tax rates, friends? They are almost by heart to us. Up to 2,50,000 nil. 2,50,000 to 5 lakhs is 5%. 5 lakhs to 10 lakhs is 20%. And 10 lakhs and above, 30%. Please also bear in mind all prevailing deductions, exemptions, and reliefs can be claimed by you. You can also claim rebate. We'll see a little bit later in fact, both the situations. Now, if you opt for the new, the tax rates are up to 2,50,000 nil, Of course, the higher limits for senior citizens and super senior citizens of 3 lakhs and 5 lakhs will continue. But to make it simple, I have just kept the basics. From 250,000 to 500,000 is 5%. Then for every 250,000 bracket, you go up by 5% each. So it becomes 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, and 30. So 15 lakhs and above, you will come to 30%. But the important rider is that specified deductions, exemptions, and reliefs will not be available under this new section 115 BAC. Now, what is that? Here, old versus new, finding the clue, the package you get with the concessional tax rates. You know, it's a package. You have certain forbidden fruits and there's still something on your platter. Now, what are your forbidden fruits? The forbidden fruits for the salaried LTC, HRA, 10-14 allowances, professional tax, standard deduction, specified perks. Now, all these things which a salaried taxpayer used to enjoy until now, if you go for the new rates, the new package, you will not get that. As far as house property income is concerned, your SOP interest under section 24, which you get up to 2 lakhs, you will not get, plus the set-off of loss which you can allow, in respect of an SOP against your other incomes, that will also not be permitted. Friends, if you are a taxpayer having business and professional income, you get additional depreciation, specified deductions under 35, 35AD, specified losses, which you can normally enjoy. They are your forbidden fruits. You will not get the benefit of that. There are other sources, which are family pension, standard deduction that you get out of the family pension, 15,000, the income of minors under section 1032. You have the chapter 6A, all your deductions. The only two which are spared are section 80 CCD2 and 80 JJAA. Friends, 80 CCD2, as you are aware, is that in respect of your employer's contribution to NPS. That will continue to be available to you. And 80 JJAA is in respect of business profession when you are giving extra employment, etc. You are given the benefit of that. These are the two exceptions. In fact, it's going to be a whole lot of complication remembering as to what will be eligible, what will not be eligible, but then you'll have to get used to it if you have to work on this. Still on your platter, don't worry too much, because still, even if you go for the new rates, you'll still get what is shown on the slide. You'll get still on your platter for the salary. They are going to be notifying, this is what is mentioned in the memorandum to the finance bill, that the transport allowance for the handicapped, the conveyance, transport allowance for the handicapped is 3,200 per month, 38,400 an annum. Your conveyance allowance, tool transfer allowances, which are there under 1014, they are also going to be notified that they will be eligible as exemption under 115 BAC, and all your retirement benefits. Fortunately, you don't need to worry about your gratuity, leave encashment, PF, and other things. They will continue to be exempt. In case of house property, interestingly, keep in mind if you are having rental income. Friends, in case of rental income, you will continue to get the benefit of interest deduction under section 24 out of your rent. In SOP, you are not allowed, but LOP, yes. Then you will have a standard deduction for rent, which is there, 30%. Business profession, keep in mind that your business deductions and your losses, regular losses other than the specified losses, they will be allowed as a deduction. You have capital gains, which is fortunately untouched. All your deductions under Section 48, the benefit of indexation, exemptions under 54 family, etc., they will all continue. And other exemptions and rebate, like PPF, the Sukanya Samriddhi Yojana, tax-free bond interest, LIC maturity, agriculture income, 87 rebate, all these things will fortunately continue, so you have nothing to worry. Friends, I have a couple of case studies, and here is an interesting case study of Mr. Salaried, who has a gross income of 18 lakhs and deductions of 5,25,000. I'll just hypothetically put here so that you can have a better perception. This would include, at the bottom as is shown, salary of 50,000, housing loan interest of 2 lakhs, ATC 1,50,000, ATCCD, what you get for your additional NSS investment 50,000, ATD medical 25,000 and 50,000 for your parents, family and parents. That makes around 525,000. I gave this example close to it in case of rebate. Take here out of 18 lakhs, you're getting 525. So that leaves a taxable income of 12 lakhs and 75,000. And so as per the old rate structure, you will pay income tax of 2,02,800. Under the new scheme, out of your gross income of 18 lakhs, the deductions are zero because none of these deductions will be available. Your taxable income will continue at 18 lakhs, and the income tax, even at the new rates, friends, will be 2,88,600. So tax saving of 85,800 if taxpayer continues with the old. Now we go forward. There is another case study, and that is saying the same case of Mr. Salaried. He is an HUF, where he's just trying to build up income. He has not taken any deductions. So he has gross income of 15 lakhs, deductions, no deductions, taxable income 15 lakhs, tax is 2,73,000. In the new scheme, on the gross income of 15 lakhs, no deductions obviously, taxable income 15, and income tax will be 1,95,000. So there is a tax saving of 78,000 if taxpayer opts for the new scheme. Now this is the example, friends, if you recall having heard the finance minister's speech, she gave this example of 78,000. In fact, considering a situation that a taxpayer is not taking deduction under the old and new, and therefore I thought this would register better in your minds, how this 78,000 works out too. So, we go further, and then I'll come to some of the Guru Mantras. Choosing the right tax regime. Friends, I tried to make it a little simple for your understanding that where total income, take for example, is 15 lakhs or more. In this case, what would be your tax differential and how would you choose between the old and the new? Say if you are claiming deductions starting from 4,50,000, you would still continue to save 62,400 under the old scheme. So progressively as your deductions reduce, your tax differential will also reduce. And what is the break-even point? Please keep this in mind. If your income is more than 15 lakhs, because under the new scheme, that is where you attract the maximum rate of tax, at 2,50,000, it becomes neutral. Both under the old and the new scheme, the tax differential.
It's 12 hours.
It's nothing is there. So you go further, then friends, you will start reaping the benefits, in the sense that when it goes down to 2 lakhs, you'll still save 15,600. If you were just claiming only 1,50,000 ATC, you should still go in for the new scheme because you'll save 31,200. If 100,000 is the deduction, you'll save 46,800. And obviously, we saw that, friends, if you are not claiming any deductions, the maximum saving is 78,000. When you cross the surcharge barriers, the surcharge will be added to that. But subject to that, 78,000 is the maximum tax benefit if you are not taking any deductions at all. Let's go to the next slide here. And here I am talking about the Guru Mantras. Friends, what are the messages that we take home from the slides that we have seen? The discussion we have had on old versus new, finding the clue. And therefore I say, make the right choice and rejoice. Now, how do you do it? I would say I'm going to advocate or advise for a combo, particularly for the middle class taxpayers. Now, where the total income, the first Guru Mantra is, where the total income is more than 15 lakhs, as I pointed out, the break-even point of deductions is 250,000. So where deductions, after deductions, the total income comes down to below 5 lakhs. Friends, the old scheme is invariably the right choice. Why? Because you get the benefit of rebate in case of all resident individuals. So just ensure, as long as the protection of rebate is there, and you can stretch your deductions with the rebate until 8, 9, 10 lakhs also, you are still safe under the old regime. Now, I have put the third proposition, which is worth considering. In a family with 3 tax entities, individual, spouse, and HUF, what would you do? Plan all possible deductions totaling to more than 2.5 lakhs in the case of the individual, and stick to the old. For the spouse and the HUF, skip or claim low deductions below 250 and opt for the new. So that will be a win-win situation. See, today what happens, there are deductions which are scattered in the family. Something in HUF, something in spouse, something in individual. The strategy now would be to concentrate all deductions in the individual's entity where you can do the best, and spouse and HUF, or individual and spouse can take deductions and HUF at least. You can go for, based on the case studies I have tried to give, make a combo of the old and new. You can, I think, really make your day. So that is all on the old versus new. Friends, let me move to the next idea that I wish to share with you as an insight this morning. And that is the threat of the surcharge net. And as I have written, let surcharge not spoil your tax planning party. Friends, just see the burden of surcharge on income tax. Of course, we know that up to 10 lakhs, it is 31.2, and up to 50 lakhs, it continues to be 31.2. Well, this is what we've lived with all along all these years. But in the last couple of years, since this fancy animal of surcharge, has peeped in, it has really become a party pooper. Imagine, friends, the moment you cross 50 lakhs and up to 1 crore, you are at 34.32. So straight away, against 31.2, it's a 10%, hike and jack there. 1 to 2 crores, 15% surcharge. 2 to 5 crores, 25%. And, I really shudder for those above 5 crores with the 37% surcharge on income tax. Just imagine your turban is bigger than your head. You know what happens? 30% income tax, 37% surcharge. That takes you to 42.74. So now the planning for those in the higher brackets, your real planning would be to ensure how you can, cut your pockets on surcharge. Because it's all a game between 31 to 43. It is in this spread of 12%, where can you remain and how best can you save taxes? Let us see in the next example that I'll try to take. I have said master code to lighten the tax load. Now share your income to lower your tax rate. Friends, this golden rule of tax planning, will have to become an insightful, focus for you. And what I have tried to point out by the example here, let me explain, is that you can go for a straight tax saving of around 10% just with some simple alignment. What will you need to do? Let us take this family with 3 entities, Mr. X, Mrs. X, and X HUF. So the tax load before income sharing, today, this is what is the pattern of your income: 120 lakhs, 60 lakhs, 20 lakhs. I put what is the tax payable in the next column. And friends, the average rate ranging from 34% going down to 21.45. And the family average on the income of 2 crores, as you will see on the left-hand side, the tax is 63.55 lakhs with an average rate of 31.78%. Please keep this in mind. Now, the tax load after income sharing. Suppose you are able to, because there will be, some incomes about which you can't do anything, like remuneration or rent, etc. But investment incomes, capital gains, these are things which you can easily, ensure that you can switch into the other tax entities. Now, this very income of 2 crores, if you are able to realign, say with one entity more, I'll explain. Mr. X should try to go below 1 crore, because crossing 1 crore means you are straight into the next bracket of surcharge, and you don't want to get into that. Mrs. X, she's above 50, why can't we bring in her into below 50, 45 lakhs? So she will also gain. The HUF, you can raise the income, ensure. So the idea is the spouse, Mrs. X and HUF, they remain below 50 lakhs. Mr. X tries to come in below 1 crore. So, your Lakshman Rekha is where you cross this. And therefore, this is what you have to keep in mind. Now, since this family, they have 2 children, 2 minors, you can think of what is still a very valid, it's a good old tax planning, but it assumes a lot of significance even now. I am not going for a discretionary trust with the maximum tax rate. I am doing still the elementary basic of having a discretionary trust for 2 minors. Obviously, the minors do not have any taxable income, and therefore, they would attract ordinary rates. The trust would attract ordinary rates because there are only 2 conditions under 164, that the minors do not have taxable income, which is obvious, fulfilled, and they are not beneficiaries under any other trust. Then you get the benefit of ordinary rates. So you can bring in 20 lakhs more, which will take you to, now look at the average rates. They've plunged down from 34, 32, from 30.75 to 26.87, and the family average goes down by a good over 3%. That means you will see, friends, your tax before income sharing was 63.55. You have been able to bring it down to 57.27. Same income, almost same entities, some insightful, smart, strategic tax planning, and you are able to save a good 10% over 6 lakhs. Well, I hope that works for all. After tax, friends, let me now come to a few thoughts on investment planning, tax planning via planning of investments, what I call. And here are some tax-friendly tips for planning your investments. Friends, many of us, we don't really live out of our investment income. We want investments to grow for posterity, for future. And therefore, we must think that if we are in the top tax bracket, why do we want to earn income every year, pay tax thereon, and after all, we are not even going to consume that income. We would just want to reinvest. And this is what happens when you have your schemes where you have choice of dividend or your normal income versus growth. Now, friends, for almost all high bracket taxpayers, growth instruments are the focus to look at. And my next couple of slides will talk about some of these smart strategies for tax saving in terms of tax planning via planning of investments. Now, I've tried to explain that in the first instance, your annual dividend income or your income, normal interest income, whatever you call, will attract your max tax of 30% if you are obviously about 10 or 15 lakhs with the surcharge and cess, depending on where you are. So starting from 31.2, it can go up to close to 43. Now, what is the advantage of growth? Say you have two schemes, one is a growth scheme, another is an income scheme. Obviously, when you go for growth, the advantage is tax deferral until redemption. Because until you don't redeem anything, until you don't get money, there is no question of paying any tax. Even that time, apart from the tax deferral, friends, you will pay lower tax on capital gains. Well, the arbitrage is there and the government is conscious about it, but they have to live with it. When it's normal income, it's dividend, interest, etc., it attracts the regular rates of tax. When it comes to capital gains, then friends, see the concessional rates that you can enjoy. Your equity products, and equity products need not necessarily mean risky, products where returns are not sure. You have products which are in a way packaged like debt, your arbitrage schemes, but which have the feature, and particularly on the tax front, they are featured or styled as equity products. A lot of people like this arbitrage funds, which have steady returns, but at the same time, a very tax-friendly rate of 10% on LTCG. And all that you need to hold for an LTCG is just 1 year. For your short term, say suppose you are not able to hold for 1 year, then you will still pay only 15% as against the normal tax, which can be 2 to 3 times. Friends, even in case of debt instruments, you don't have 10% concession. But here you get your 20% tax on your LTCG, long-term gains, but you have a very vital indexation benefit. So considering the indexation benefit after your 3-year term, your impact is going to be much less than your 20%. But in any case, when you opt for a growth instrument and invest in the same, friends, you enjoy the distinct advantage, one of tax deferral and second of a lower rate of tax. Now, talking about this, friends, I am coming to a very interesting scheme. It's worth looking at, and that is for those who want, I'm talking of those middle class taxpayers who want to, use certain income, but at the lower rate of tax. And therefore, I have called these SWPs, they're ideal for earning fixed incomes but at lower tax. Now, how does this work, friends? Let me take you through this. Now, what are these systematic withdrawal plans? You invest a certain amount either in a lump sum or under a systematic investment plan SIP. You have any of these two options. And then from a particular point of time, you either under the scheme or with your own option, you make your suo motu, systematic withdrawal plan. Now, what is the beauty or the tax efficiency or shelter of an SWP withdrawal? I'll have an example case study to show later, but take a look at this, friends. There is no tax on capital component because when you are withdrawing, there is capital and there is income. So there is no tax on the capital component. The income element is taxable as capital gains. Then you have the equity plan withdrawal after 1 year, which is treated as long-term capital gains. You know, if you go for those kind of products, case study will drive home this point, but let's first of all remember these basic Guru Mantras or rules. Then friends, keep in mind what I mentioned earlier, that you have your annual long-term capital gain of up to rupees 1 lakh exempt under section 112A for all entities, and your LTCG over 1 lakh will be taxable, but only at 10% if it is an equity product. Now, friends, here is a case study to look at to support this proposition of earning fixed income at lower tax. Take a situation, I have invested 1 crore rupees, which is 1 lakh units of rupees 100 each, with an annual growth at 10% per annum. You know, it's a bit on the higher side, but to make it simple, you know, it could vary. You know, somebody would say, I may not get 10, okay, it may be 8. Somebody may say, I can go up to 12 or 15. But I have taken a very balanced average of 10. Now, after 1 year, friends, I have taken 1 year because I wanted to become LTCG. After 1 year in 2020, the unit value grows to 110. Now, you want that every year, you want 10 lakhs as a middle class taxpayer for your family's consumption. So what would you do? When you want these 10 lakhs, you would redeem certain units. The value per unit would be 110. So I would be required to redeem how many units? 9091, 9091 units. Now 9091 units at rupees 10 per unit will get me 90,910. Please understand this, because what is my income component? I am withdrawing 10 lakhs. Out of the 10 lakhs, you know, almost you can say 9 lakhs and 10,000 or 9 lakhs and 9,000 is something which is close to the, you can say the capital component. And there is 90,000, which is the long-term capital gains. Now, the long-term capital gains up to 1 lakh is exempt under section 112A, and there is no effective tax on annual cash flow. There is no effective tax on the annual cash flow. Please keep that in mind. So, what is the big advantage? If that 10 lakhs was earned as interest, say I had kept 1 crore in a private deposit at 10% and I had earned it as interest, I would have paid tax at 31.2%, 3 lakhs and 12,000. Here, I am getting the same annual cash flow of 10 lakhs, but as I mentioned, 9 lakhs and odd is capital component, around 1 lakh is the long-term capital gains, but under 112A, it is exempt. Well, friends, in the subsequent years, the pattern can change, but this is a very good strategic principle to look at. And now I come to the last topic. You know, this subject of tax and investment planning, as I said, is so wide. It's an ocean. And the deeper you dive in, friends, the more gems and jewels you'll get. But I would like to close today with perhaps that's what the last thing every one of us looks at, and that is retirement. It's a different thing that the Corona experience has given so many of us the experience of leading a retired life right now. But anyway, friends, these last 2-3 slides are on NPS. And I want to put this focus on NPS because in the last 2 years, in fact, in the last year and a half, some very important amendments have been made thanks to the then Finance Minister, Mr. Arun Jaitley, you know, who had a great passion for this. NPS is never so attractive ever before. NPS is something worth looking at. Now, we quickly need to recapitulate what are the salient features of NPS, particularly from the tax exemption or tax shelter point of view. One is the employer's annual contribution at 10%, and in case of the government servants, 14% of their basic salary. But then keep in mind, friends, the 2020 Finance Act has brought in this rider of 7.5 lakhs. You know? So beyond 7.5 lakhs, your employer's contribution would be taxed as a perquisite under Section 17. But up to 7.5 lakhs is exempt under 80 CCD2. Employees' contribution of 50,000 separately deductible, as you know, under 80 CCD 1B. Your own withdrawal of your own contribution is exempt under 1012B if you make it in one or more installments up to 25%. This gives you a big liquidity comfort. And then, friends, 60%. This is where there is a huge, bonanza given to you of the amount payable on closure or exit is exempt under Section 12A, and only pension out of the balance 40% invested as annuity fund would be liable to tax, and the corpus amount, if it is received by you, obviously it's taxable, but if it's received by your nominee, you keep on the annuity in perpetuity, you can continue, would be exempt under 80 CCD3. Now look at this case study, friends. This tax saving via NPS case study, I have taken an executive drawing annual salary of 55 lakhs, the employer's annual contribution at 10%, 5 lakhs and 50,000 exempt from tax, employees' contribution of 50,000 separately deductible, 25 years, we presume that he's 25 years until retirement, investment of 1.50 crores, because 6 lakhs will be invested, 550 from the employer's contribution, 15,000 more, and 6 lakhs into 25 years would be 1 crore and 50 lakhs, a clear straight tax saving of 45 lakhs plus, 30% plus, depending on your slab. At 8% per annum, friends, because NPS has now, the options in its tiers to go in for a range of instruments. If at 8% you are putting in your money, your investment grows to 4.75 crores. So on retirement, 60% of this 2.85 crores can be withdrawn as exempt. Pension income of 1,25,000 is what you will be able to fetch, considering this 8%. So out of the balance corpus, 40% annuity corpus of 1.90 crores, if you get it at 8% per month, you will get a pension of 1,25,000. So friends, it really looks attractive because if you are prepared to wait until your nominee getting the 40%, virtually it's a completely exempt scenario except for your pension income. And friends, look at the last slide. I'm just sorry. here is the last slide, which I wanted to talk about, but I think time does not permit me. Let me just. No, it's okay. I would quickly take it. I would quickly take it on. Just a second. Let me try to even do without the slide. I think that should not be an issue. I tried to work out on the numbers, and the numbers, friends, they really go that attractive. And let me explain. The numbers go something like this, that if I'm investing on this same pattern where 7,50,000 go, 1.5 crores, as I just pointed out, comes to the taxpayer completely tax-free. 45 lakhs is tax-free. 4.75 crores is the growth. Friends, I worked out this with the NPS calculators, and therefore they're very reliable. On retirement, the 60% being 2.85 crores is completely exempt. This is truly worth taking a look at, because it will do a lot of good to you. And finally, as I said, if you are waiting until the nominee to receive anything, if you want to leave it for the family, friends, there is no tax at that point of time as well. Fortunately, we have no estate duty also as of now. So this is just taken on a hypothesis of 55 lakhs. There could be several variable factors, but just look at this. And friends, I would like to conclude with once again this slide, saying thank you to you, that a moment's insight is sometimes worth a life's experience. The lifestyle that we've been going through for the past close to 30 days. In fact, I want to remind you that it's exactly 30 days, 1 month, since we've all been locked up at home. It's an eye-opener. There is despair and there is hope. As I usually do when I conclude, I would like to also conclude in the same way with this small little couplet. And the couplet says, Gam ke andhere mein dil bekarar na kar. Gam ke andhere mein dil bekarar na kar. Subah zarur aayegi, subah ka intezar kar. Friends, we pass through some of the worst and the most challenging times. We are nearing to those times where, of course, lives will change. But I want to conclude once again, reminding what I said at the beginning, that every challenge or adversity carries the seed of an opportunity that can be transformed into prosperity. And if this AIFTP webinar, I've been able to share some insights with you, I'll be extremely happy that this was an exercise worth it. Thank you very much, all my colleagues at the AIFTP. Thank you, Nikita Ben. Thank you, Samir Bhai. Thank you, Bhaskar Bhai, and many others, whom I know. I'm very happy. I believe the floor is all yours, Samir Bhai. Now you have had a fairly encouraging participation, and thank you very much.
Mukesh bhai, today you made the day useful for 700 participants.
I'm very happy. I'm so glad.
Before I take the queries, I have to make few announcements. Would you please permit me to do that?
Please do.
Okay. At All India Federation of Tax Practitioners, we have made a free publication of Vivad Se Vishwas scheme that is available on AIFTPonline.org. The writer is Vipul Joshi. We have forthcoming programs on 25th by South Zone, which deals with amendments in Direct Taxes Finance Act 2020, and the speaker is Mr. C.A. Naveen Kherwal. On 25th, day after tomorrow, Mukesh bhai, one of your colleagues in task force, Dr. Girish Ahuja, would be dealing with succession planning and HUL. all the participants to join on this part. Now I would take up the queries which has come to me.
Sameer, you may also like to just inform, I believe Nigam is going to work on uploading this on the YouTube in
Yes.
the next couple of days.
Yes.
So if anybody has missed this live webinar, they can still look at the YouTube.
We'll be sharing your PPT also. Mukesh.
Great.
Okay.
समीर भाई कोविड फंड बोलेंगे
Yeah. And then, friends, we have taken an initiative, all those who are willing or who should will to donate to PM CARES Fund can log into AIFTP's website and put a click thereupon and donate anything above 1,000 maximum, whatever you can do. Please do it for the country's sake. Thank you. Now I take up the queries from the chat box first, and then those who are the participants, if they have a query, they can raise their hand, and we'll unmute them to raise the query, to say the query. Now, Mukesh, one is from Mr. Sanjay Bajoria.
Yeah.
He says that the total income is below rupees 5 lakhs, and are the restrictions of Section 87A applicable?
Hello.
Yeah.
If the total income is less than 5 lakhs, there is absolutely no concern. You have to keep in mind, and that's what I tried to show in the examples. You know, when the finance minister said last year that there'll be no tax there'll be a zero tax for incomes up to 5 lakhs, it is a misnomer. Because if your tax is 12,500, then, and that's tax on your normal income, then, you know, at 5% between 250 to 5 lakhs on that 250,000, which is a taxable amount, at 5%, 12,500, you will get a rebate of 12,500. So as I explained, if you are getting short-term capital gains, which are taxed at 15%, or you are getting long-term capital gains other than 112A, which are being taxed at 20%, the tax could be higher than 12,500, but if your total income is less than 5 lakhs, you would get 12,500 rupees. And as I said, the real uncomfortable situation is the moment you cross 5 lakhs, there is no marginal relief, and therefore, you know, almost up to 5 lakhs, 13, 14,000, you have a situation where your tax is more than that marginal income beyond 5 lakhs.
Okay.
This is where I hope everybody will do their homework well. And as I pointed out, before 30th June, you still have a window open to do that little bit of fine tuning.
Second question in the chat is from Mr. Alex. He wants to know that the salaried employee opting for new scheme is eligible for relief under 89.1.
Yes, under 89.1, he would very much get the relief. There is no restriction. In fact, as I also mentioned, the salaried employee would also get the benefit of rebate under 87A. But his rebate gets really curtailed for the simple reason that he will not be able to enjoy the Chapter 6A deductions and other deductions like standard deduction or interest on housing loan, etc. And therefore, you know, his rebate will not really go up to maybe 8, 9, 10 lakhs. It will just remain restricted to 5 lakhs of the gross income.
The other one is whether from Akshay Modi, benefit of 115 BAD available to cooperative banks. So further, the deduction under 36(7)(a) would be eligible.
I'm sorry, it was on cooperative society.
115 BAD available to cooperative banks.
Yeah, but so you're talking, you know, 115 BAD is the tax that is payable for cooperative societies if they prefer to go in for the route without taking any benefit of deduction under Section 80P. In fact, that has absolutely nothing to do with personal tax and investment planning. And therefore, for sake of time, I would rather avoid this question because there are many others who would want to focus on today's subject.
Nigam bhai, one Mr. Rakesh has put a question.
Yes, sir.
Can you unmute him?
Sure, sure, sir.
Mr. Rakesh. Rakesh, put your hand up. Lift your
Mr.
hand.
Rakesh?
Yes, sir.
Yes, Rakesh bhai.
I have raised one query
Yes.
that is related to SSC having age of 23 years,
Mm-hmm.
and he is falling 20% slab. Whether he is eligible advisable to invest in NPS?
You see, as I said, NPS is something which you want to build up. You know, in fact, when you look at this amazing subject of investment planning, you know, friends, I would encourage all of you to look at, you know, this subject of investment planning, which is both an art and a science. And the deeper and deeper you go into it, you will get into more and more new insights. I would certainly say that, you know, you should start with NPS. The advantage of NPS is that, you know, in any case, you know, the big advantage is the contribution by the employer, you know, is completely exempt. So, you know, employers are happy because they look at CTC. And if you can park 10% of your basic income, basic salary, into the tax-free basket and let it grow, which is also not going to be taxed because it goes into the growth. And with this big advantage of 60%, even if you exit, you don't wait until retirement, you still get this 60%. So I would certainly encourage her to go into NPS because, as I mentioned, NPS is now as attractive as it was never ever before.
Okay. Next question is Ritesh. I would request the querist to unmute his mic once he or she puts up the question. Nigam bhai, Ritesh.
Ritesh Patel.
Yeah.
Mr. Ritesh, I am not able to unmute you. You just please try to unmute yourself. Mr. Ritesh. I think, sir, Mr. Ritesh is not able to hear us.
Okay.
Please next query, sir.
Fair enough. Then I think how to create a corpus in HUF in order to buy property in favor. Does irrevocable gift by Karta in favor of HUF? Is this a legitimate planning, sir? Mukesh, something of your interest.
You see, basically, you want funds for the HUF, okay? Let's not get into this situation of what would be the tax implications if it's a gift. Because giving a gift by an individual to the HUF, as you know, friends, when an individual gives a gift to the HUF, the provisions of Section 64, clubbing, comes in. And if the gift is revocable, then obviously it doesn't make sense. If it is irrevocable, you attract the provisions of Section 64. The best thing for you to do, you know, as far as HUF is concerned, I think the HUF can lend out funds, you know, interest-free to the member, and the member using those funds in the HUF. In fact, that is today the best way in which you can create, you know, capital which you want to invest. You know, there'll be a corresponding liability, but you still have the liquidity to invest and build up income for the HUF. And that 78,000 is something very attractive, which I'm sure you would like to look at every HUF being able to save that.
Okay, since we are short of time, queries are coming up. But last one, what is better, superannuation fund or NPS from tax and investment perspective?
Well, I would personally be in favor of NPS because NPS carries a lot of advantage. In fact, let me tell you, friends, that NPS has not been marketed enough as it ought to be. Perhaps because, they are not as lucrative kind of incentives to those who could be marketing NPS. So I would say, as tax professionals, AIFTP, the last example which I gave, you are really able to create a big corpus, attractive corpus for your later days. I think NPS should be very, very earnestly and seriously looked at.
Okay, thank you so much. I now ask the Bhaskar Bhai Patel, the Wisdom Chairman, to present a vote of thanks. Bhaskar Bhai?
Yes, Madam National President Nikita Ben Badega, Secretary General Samir Bhai Jani, our today's speaker, our mentor, Mr. Mukesh Bhai Patel, the AIFTP past presidents, the office bearers, and the participants in today's webinar. I am very much thankful to Mr. Mukesh Patel that on one phone call only, he readily accepted our invitation for this webinar. And today, he has given very fruitful and effective presentation, which will be benefited to all the participants, those who are joined with this webinar. I thank all the participants also for being with us in this seminar. Thank you all.
Thank you. Let me have the last word and thank all my audience whom I have not been able to see or whom I have not even able to hear. But I believe from the pop-ups that have come up from everywhere, I hope sincerely that you have enjoyed this presentation. And on a parting note, I would only want to say that please keep safe, keep sound, take care of yourself and your family, and let us all pray together that Lord Almighty showers all His blessings on us, that we can come out. I would say from amongst the nations around the world. I'm on a closing note, Nikita Ben, I want to share this beautiful couplet of one of my most favorite shairs, Iqbal, who said, and it looks as if this is true, because today, globally, the world over, countries are suffering, but touch wood, still there is a lot of hope. There is a lot of optimism when it comes to India. And he said, Yunan, Misra, Rome, sab mit gaye jahan se. He talked about civilizations having been vanished. Yunan, Misra, Rome, sab mit gaye jahan se. Baki magar hai ab tak, namo nishan hamara. Kuch baat hai ke hasti, मिटती नहीं हमारी सदियां रहा है दुश्मन दौरे जहां हमारा सारे जहां से अच्छा हिंदुस्तान
Grateful.
Very, very good, sir. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for being with us. Thank you all the participants. Join you tomorrow again, 11:30.
Okay, see you. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you very
You
much.
can close.
Yes, ma'am, please.